Well, let me see, combining the FFA plot and hauling manure for the afternoon, how's that sound? So, yeah. Yep. Are we ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'll call today's board meeting, November 7th, to order. McLeod County Board of Commissioners. Let's begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning again. We'll begin with our consideration of agenda items. I believe we have one to add. Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under administration, I ask if we can please add item 12L. Consider approving updated revenue recapture agreements with the Minnesota Department of Revenue. These are standard and just need to be updated. Thank you.
Any other additions or corrections to today's agenda? We have a motion by Nagel.
Second.
Second by Schmalz. Is any discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Move consent agenda, Mr. Chair. Second.
We have a motion by Schmalz, second by Nagel to approve today's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item will be our public hearing today. We'll call on our county attorney to go over that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I seek a motion to open that public hearing, just a quick piece of background, but this item is to consider adopting the McLeod County ordinance regulating the use of cannabis and cannabis-derived products in public places. So as this board's aware, this matter or this issue has been at two previous workshops to discuss the possible drafting and implementation of a cannabis ordinance regarding public use. Those workshops were fairly well attended by some of the other cities within the county. The sheriff had also appeared at those workshops and provided input, as well as my office and the others in attendance. So in your packet today was included was a draft of the ordinance. This draft had previously been circulated at those workshops as well. At this point, it hasn't been changed in form. But before you today, in an issue that I expect to garner some discussion, is one that we discussed at the workshops, and that would be if the board acts with such an ordinance, where will its jurisdictional effect lie? So will it be a county-wide ordinance? Will it be an ordinance that affects only county-owned property and places in the county that are not within city boundaries, or some variation of that? So there's really four options that the board could pursue in this realm. One would be to simply do nothing at all. No ordinance, let the state law be in effect as it currently is. Option two would be under the county's public health and safety powers and regulating public health and safety. The board would have authority to act with a county-wide ordinance, which would have effect at all places within the county, and cities would then have the option to be more restrictive if they chose to do so, but not less. There is another middle ground option where the county could pass an ordinance, and this is what the draft as it's currently written would do, is it would take effect countywide. Cities would not have to take any action for this to be effective and enforceable within their cities. However, if cities chose to pass their own regulation, an ordinance regarding the public use of cannabis and cannabis-related products, their ordinance would preempt ours and be effective within their own city boundaries. So they could basically opt out by taking their own action. So cities would not have to do anything to have this ordinance be enforceable, but they could choose to do something else, whether it be more or less restrictive. Right now, as far as I'm aware, the cities of Glencoe and Hutchinson have passed regulations regarding the use of and possession of cannabis, or excuse me, the use in public places, and those are the only ones that I'm aware of that have actually taken steps to regulate it within the county at this time. So I also, before the public hearing, did ask Ms. Spores from Health and Human Services to be present today and provide the board some information regarding public health concerns or issues in relation to this. So I would ask that she be allowed to address the board at this time.
Good morning. The Public Health, Health and Human Services is in support of this ordinance. So just a little background, cannabis is a plant that contains a chemical called THC. THC is what gives you the high. Cannabis can be smoked, vaped, or consumed as edibles. Edibles are products made with cannabis that you can eat or drink. Edibles often resemble food products such as cookies, chocolate, gummy candy, and beverages. So some possible threats of public use of cannabis that we see in McLeod County would be the secondhand smoke exposure, normalized behavior of public use, public impairment, and unintentional consumption by children. So some public health concerns for youth, which we got from Hennepin County Public Health. Cannabis dependence increases when someone starts using at an early age. Cannabis use increases the risk of abuse or dependence on other substances. And for teens, regular THC use can impair memory, concentration, and impact learning. Any questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, Barrett, for your comments. A question for Attorney. What does Section I really mean as it states in this proposed ordinance? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Sure. Okay, so yes, on page 3, the paragraph beginning with the small I. So that talks about what would not be considered to be a public place or place of public accommodation, because this ordinance would prohibit use within public places or places of public accommodation. So that section describes places that cannot be viewed as a public place, and therefore this ordinance would not prohibit the use within. And there's 3 areas, and the reason this is included in particular and how it's worded in particular is that comes expressly from the state statute on this. So the statute does not allow us to regulate within these places. So one's within a private residence, 2, the private property not generally accessible by the public unless the individual is prohibited by the owner, or 3, on the premises of an establishment or event licensed to permit on-site consumption. So these places would not be affected by an ordinance passed today, use within those places, and that's because state statute is written that way, so we're not allowed to regulate there.
Okay, and thanks, Mr. Chair. Another question, Attorney. So I'm trying to put an application to the language. So how would this affect an event like Woodstock in my district where we have consumption? Can you explain that a little bit to me?
So as things currently stand, that would be considered a public place or place of public accommodation under the ordinance. And because right now there's no special licensings that would allow for consumption there would be prohibited if this draft were adopted as written today. Now, if the grounds were to seek licensing to allow for on-site consumption, that might change, but right now, they're, you know, they don't have such a license.
Any further questions, Mr. Schmaltz?
Mr. Chair? Yep. One more question about consumption. Are we talking about consumption of a cannabis product, or are we talking about alcohol consumption as well?
Here, the ordinance is limited to just cannabis products and other hemp-derived consumer products. So the exceptions are, I mean, on page 2, it includes most of those definitions, what would be covered. So what's not included in there is alcohol. This ordinance is aimed at alcohol at all. What would fall within the purview of this ordinance would be, you know, cannabis-infused beverages. So there's beverages that are infused with cannabis that would be covered, but not alcohol.
Thank you, Attorney. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Ench, do you have anything else to describe about the ordinance, or should we now address a motion to open the public hearing?
I don't have anything else other than I'd be happy to continue to answer questions if they arise, whether now or during the public hearing. But otherwise, this is the same draft that was previously provided to the board at previous workshops, and I know we had some discussion then, so I don't have anything additional. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, move to open the public hearing.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to open the public hearing on the ordinance related to cannabis-derived products in public places. Any discussion on that? We'll then proceed to vote. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Hearing is now open for anyone to make comment, question. If we have anyone that wants to address the mic, please make sure and give us your name clearly so that we can understand it, and then go ahead with any questions or comments you may have, or we'll continue discussion up here at the board.
And Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Well, perhaps waiting to see if there's any other comments. I would just note, I did talk to the sheriff prior to the public hearing today. As you know, he had attended the previous workshops and provided input, and he, you know, his position really hasn't changed, or he doesn't have, I don't think, any additional input to add. I do see our chief deputy is here, you know, for this as well. I don't know that he seeks to address the board, but I did just want to note that I had that conversation, and the sheriff had been previously involved in these discussions, so thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I guess I'll just start it off. The question I have, it's not even a question, I guess, where I'm at with it, I think the ordinance fits what I think the county should do. The struggle, for the lack of a better word, is Section 3, the jurisdiction, whether we, and Ryan, make sure I get this right, whether we have an all-encompassing county ordinance, or we allow the cities to opt out by having their own ordinance. I think that's the, again, a stronger term than I intended, the controversy that I've had with this. Other than that, I think we're where we need to be. So,
And I do think, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I do think, I mean, that's a fair way to phrase the options here. The reason why I drafted this ordinance in its current state is to, one, to facilitate this discussion. I want the jurisdiction piece to be discussed head-on. Sometimes these ordinances are passed and there's question marks of what was intended, and I don't think that's beneficial to anybody. And then two is, several of our other cities that have chosen not to enact their own ordinances at this time did attend the workshops, and were very much hopeful that the county would pass something that would be enforceable within their cities. And so this draft took that into account, and it still leaves that piece that you just addressed. What about the cities that have taken their own action? But that's the context of why I provided the draft that I currently.
no, it's fine. It's just, to steal your words, we need to address it head-on, because I think, at least I need to address it head-on, because that is the issue that I see right
Okay, the comments that I would have, I guess I was honestly hoping for a lot more public input on this for sure. Even the Hutchinson paper did a very nice job of exposing our ordinance and putting it out there that this is one where we need to hear from people, and it was honestly quite silent. And so you ask for input so that we do the right thing that people want, and you're just not getting any. I wouldn't say not getting any, but getting very, very little until you go to just start point blank asking people a question. And the answer that I received when I looked through those conversations was that no in public places and keep it the same countywide. When we met at our 2 workshops throughout the summer with those cities that came here, I think that was one message that they had, was that they were hoping that the ordinance would be the same countywide. And as for law enforcement sake, I think that would be the simplest thing to enforce, no matter where the dial goes. It would be this, as far as defining the public place or wherever that wants to be at, but keeping that ordinance the same from one end of the county through all the cities would definitely be the easiest thing to do. It gets to be a little bit difficult to make that, part of this, because you, to a degree, get to play the big government role, I suppose, to a point, but yet it sure makes it a lot cleaner and easier for people to follow and for law enforcement, I think, if we keep it on the same page. So I'm probably, I'm in favor of the no public places, for sure, and probably leaning towards favoring the idea that our language be changed here today to encompass that it become a countywide ordinance. But that can be changed slightly yet, I guess. We do find ourselves in a situation today where we have 3 board members present instead of 5, and so that is something that we need to consider as well. Are we positive enough of our direction to make a motion today, or do we hold off until another board meeting and just treat today as input and conversation? That's another thing that we have to go through here a little bit. But just kind of laying it out there where I'm at, following along with Commissioner Nagel, that we needed to be in all public places, probably a little bit more further down the road of we need to have an ordinance that is the one that all will follow in the county in order to keep it clean. Commissioner Schmaltz, comments?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I've had limited discussion as well with the jurisdictions in my district, but the discussion I have had centers around a ordinance that our sheriff's office and our deputies can understand and know, where the differences are between let's say a different ordinance within a city. The other comment was, I think the smaller towns that I represent in my district are a little hesitant to look at the ordinance until they see what the county has done. So with what you stated and what Commissioner Nagel has stated, maybe it would be prudent for us to not act today, being we're short 2 commissioners. This gives the public a chance for a little more input. So I think that's where I would be as well, is to hold off on adopting the ordinance as we have it in front of us today.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Mr. Hanch, can you speak of the county-owned property? If we pass this ordinance as it sits today, where the city would be able to opt out if they pass their own. Opt out is my words, I get that. How, and I'll just say it, the fairgrounds. Explain to me what control we would have over the fairgrounds if the city of Hutch did not include that in their ordinance of a public place.
Well, thank you. The county has authority, even if we would allow for cities to pass their own ordinance that would govern within their boundaries, to still regulate on county-owned property. And it's a fair question, and it's one that could be clarified, I think, even in Section 3 jurisdiction, where we could just clearly put, that county-owned properties within the cities are still, subject to the county ordinance.
Okay.
And that would be that would be an easy drafting change to modify. So, fair question. If it would be the intent of the board to regulate county-owned property within the cities and the exact same as other locations within the county, the board could certainly do that, and we could make sure that that was clarified.
Thank you. Well, with that, Mr. Chair, I could probably vote on it today, but I think it would be best, and if I was absent, I would respect or hope that the board would wait 2 weeks on such an issue for me to be present to give that. So with that, first I will, see no other public comment, I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to close today's public hearing. Now proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, I would move to table this until the November 17th,
21st.
21st board meeting.
And second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, there's no discussion on a motion to table, so we'll now proceed to vote on the motion to table until the November 21st. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Before we move on, would you like any alternate drafts available for that 21st meeting? And if so, any direction you want to provide at this time, or otherwise we can...
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
I think the county-owned property piece, if you could do that. And then, because of what the discussion surrounds, really, the draft, the two drafts, meaning the jurisdiction piece. The countywide, all-encompassing, over the cities will have this one, or the opt-out one. That's what I would like. Does that make sense?
So if I'm hearing you correctly, I would likely modify this draft slightly to clarify that this current draft would still govern county-owned property
Yes.
within cities, and then I will also have an alternate draft where it's simply one that would be effective countywide.
Yes, that's what I would like
So,
our options to be in 2 weeks.
I could certainly do that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Moving on, call on Liz Danielson for our community spotlight.
Good morning. I'm here today with a community spotlight, and this morning I've invited Tim Burley to join us. Tim is a Hutchinson City Council member, and he's also the founder and director of WelcomeHome.vet, which is a veteran transition initiative developed and piloted in Hutchinson to increase veteran awareness in the areas of economic development, entrepreneurial skills, and reintegration into our communities. Tim has a lot of great information to share about his initiative and the services that they're able to provide. So if there's not any questions, I can turn it over to him for his presentation. Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me here today and our organization here today, to the county commissioners and county attorney and everybody here. We appreciate the opportunity, this close to Veterans Day, to start to engage in the conversation of what veterans can do positively in a community. We hear on the news a lot of information about veterans, and they all have PTSD and TBI, and they, go on shooting sprees and all these other things. That's about 5% of what our population really is. And so Welcome Home Vet actually started in Hutchinson about 7 years ago. And it was on an impetus, as that time I was taking suicide and crisis calls from veterans. And they were all kind of stringing together the same reasons: finances, family, divorce, issues that they weren't able to cope with. These aren't combat related, some were, but it triggered the combat when they go through a divorce, when they go through different things. Now, we understand in the military, We go in at 18, 19 years old. Our life skills are pretty much zero. We've never paid a medical bill. You know, mom and dad handled everything. Off we go into the big world. We go into the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and they become our mom. They take care of our medical needs, our food needs, our clothing needs. All those things are taken care of. We have a structure every day. And that's the important word when we talk about our initiative. And if you would go to the next slide here. What we did is, in Hutchinson, is we created a community. We started looking at the economic benefit of veterans. I don't know if anybody knows, the veteran community in the United States contributes 11% of our gross domestic product here in the United States. If you look at Amazon, started by a veteran. Google, started by a veteran. If you start going down and look at how many veterans, 80% of veterans are entrepreneurial. So we were looking in Hutchinson and back then at how do we bring veterans into our community to solve problems? And those problems could be job skills. We're lacking daycare right now. I don't know if you know this, most veteran spouses and most active duty military spouses do daycare. Why? Because they're constantly moving around and they're used to watching other kids, so they open a daycare. In fact, we have a veteran spouse in Hutchinson. What did she do? She moved here, she opened a daycare. So we start looking at what our community needs, and we started recruiting veterans to move here. We go to Fort Carson every year. We go to Fort Campbell, and we take a list of communities. Right now, Winnebago is looking for 2 police officers. We'll be going and recruiting 2 soldiers getting out of the military police branch, and they've offered some incentives to bring them into their community. What are veterans looking for? Small communities. We're not moving to cities. There's too much crime. There's too much, you know, the guns, all that other stuff. They don't want to be part of that. They want to go to a small community. They want to raise their family safely. Our county is a wonderful place. We think all the time in deficit thinking. We don't have this. We don't have that. We have 250,000 men and women getting out of the armed services every year. 17% know where they're going. So what we're doing is we, with Welcome Home Vet, create a community where we teach the community about PTSD and TBI. In fact, our mayor just hired a veteran with several of his issues, said it's his best employee he's ever had. So we start looking at the gains we can get with our program. And if you go to the next slide, Welcome Home Vet was formed 7-8 years ago, and it became bigger when I met a man named Dr. Paul Ruffin. Dr. Ruffin worked in Los Angeles with a lot of veteran outreach, and then we brought in a third partner. It's actually Vet Tap, which is a corporate, it's a social corporation. So we are able to hire veterans who are homeless and pay them a wage and help them get established back on their feet. I'll give you an example. At Easter time, we had a homeless veteran in Hutchinson. He suffered from alcoholism. He suffered from addiction. He couldn't walk. We were able to bring him into the fold. He went to the Eagles Healing Nest. He's now been sober since Easter. He can walk again. He's actually doing construction. We're paying him as a organization because he didn't have a bank account. So we helped him get established and reestablished in the community. He also had law violations. He's worked through all of those. He's followed his probation to the T, and we see this happening every day. So we'll go on to the next slide here. So we talk about what do we do? There's the stakeholders in this, which is economic development. We work with Miles in Hutchinson. In fact, since we've started this, the Veteran Business Outreach Center, which is the veteran branch of the Small Business Association, so the U.S. Small Business Association, we had one one VBOC, they call it, in Milwaukee for veterans here in Minnesota. We now have a VBOC in Hutchinson. We are opening in certain areas of the state. We're doing Boots to Business Reboots and Boots, which is teaching veterans entrepreneurial skills, and then we're asking them to stay in our community. We have an incubation center here in the county. We have many opportunities here in the county for them, so we recruit them to come here. If you look at the military service currently in the military, there are 495 different job skills, or about that. From plumbers to HVAC to cooks to, I mean, name it. We have this, it's a community that looks like our community, except these men and women are dedicated. So we're working with chambers of commerce, we're working with cities, and we're branding the city as a veteran welcome home vet city, which the veterans say, you want us? Really? You want to? And they gladly, yes, we have a problem here with winter, but I tell them you can't ice fish in Hawaii. In fact, tomorrow we will be working, we have 169 veterans from across the United States. We're working with the SBA. We started a veteran agricultural initiative, and we have veterans who are 169 veterans across the United States who are interested in farming and agriculture. So we have older agriculture farmers here. What better way to turn your farm over if you don't have kids and you don't want to continue that string is to a new, different type of farmer who is interested in organic. You think veterans and you think, oh, they're not going to be interested in organic. It's one of our biggest topics. In fact, tomorrow we have a NASA agriculturist who will be on that broadcast. So you look at who we're bringing in, the head of the SBA, Ray Milano. So there's a big push to get veterans out into agriculture. Why? It's calming. 2, we don't have to deal with humans. We get to deal with animals. We're a little bit better with that because we have friends in the military who act like that sometimes. If you go to the next slide there, Stefan. You know, we look at veteran statistics. There are 49,000 veteran-owned businesses in Minnesota. So you start thinking about, we have, 3,200 veterans here in our county, which is, if you take the math and do the population, now add their spouses, add their children. So now we have a veteran population of 6%. Redwood County, just as an example, has 1,000 veterans to 1,500. Hutchinson has 1,400 veterans, and our population is about 15,000, so about 10% of our population. So if you look at the numbers there, 80% of veterans are entrepreneurial. And we're finding that out. As we've been holding the boots to business, we held one in Hutchinson. We had 8 veterans come interested in starting businesses. We just did Brainerd. That grew to 32 veterans. Now, the nice part is they're from across the state. I'm there with brochures from McLeod County and Hutchinson and say, we want you here. We just brought 2 veterans in. They bought a home in Hutchinson together. They're both working. We helped them, assisted them with getting jobs. We assisted them with introducing to mortgage brokers. So that's what Welcome Home Vet does. We welcome them into the community and make the introduction to the network and resources they need to be successful. If we look at it, 90% of veterans are employable, and they're loyal, and they're entrepreneurial. As I said, 175,000 a year don't know where they're going. In fact, the woman who I was talking to in Hawaii yesterday said, well, Hawaii is warm. And I said, but you can't ice fish in Hawaii. You can't snowmobile in Hawaii. So we have a sales message here for our region that's attractive to veterans. We're used to being cold. 100% of them are trained. Think about it. The United States government spends millions and billions on these people to train them. My Army vet, he speaks 6 languages he learned in the military. He's working at the University of Minnesota with foreign countries right now on research I can't even describe what he's doing. But you take this young veteran and you go, he's 25 years old, and he's doing research into horticulture. So do you expect that? No. If you want to go ahead to the next one. And I'm trying to keep this within. So if we look at the trend, our Minnesota population is about 17% of veterans come here. And I'm not going to go too far into this, but if you look at what veterans do, 80% of us vote. If you look at volunteer hours in a community, the average volunteer in a community gives about 120 hours a year. The average veteran averages 184. Where do you find value in that? So our goal is, as we go, and I'll have you jump to the next slide here, and this might be a little small, but if we look at this, we have wonderful veteran service officers, and thank you to the county for supplying 3 very great veteran service officers. I work with veteran service officers across the state. We are premier. We are envied for the service we get here, and I envy it because I hate working with some of the other ones. And it can be very difficult when you're dealing with a veteran in suicide and the VSO isn't there or it won't answer phones. That's a huge issue. My job and our job isn't to take away from the veteran service officers, it's to provide resources for them. So if Cassandra or any of them call and say, hey, Tim, we're looking for funding, we have a veteran who needs an auto repair. We can usually find that in about 10 minutes. So looking for jobs, we work together all the time. In fact, I think we've had families work with our social services. We've worked with our county attorney when it comes to veterans who are in crisis, and we have options of places we can put them to heal. And that's the strongest thing we do is we have places across the United States we can send them, not just in our backyard. So if we move along with this project, everything kind of falls into the piece. We are connectors, is what we do. We go into communities, we teach companies like 3M. When COVID broke out, 3M had some of the veterans go what we call boogaloo. They wanted to go shoot the COVID virus. It's our natural instinct. If we're trained, if something is going to hurt our family, we're trained to go hurt them. So we discussed had a small veteran group come together, and we explained to them, calm down. We're now in the civilian society. We're not going to be able to go and shoot. We're not going to be able to do that. We need to prepare. So you prepare your finances, you prepare your family, you prepare your food. That's what our training is. We just reiterate that with them so they don't go do silly things. So the whole program is based around the life skills. We help them with employment. We help with education. We help them with counseling for even divorce counselors. Relationship counselors go through your life skills of everything you do every day. We use art therapy now. So we're using art to help veterans. I do it myself. To slow my mind down, we're trained to destroy. What we can change that to is being trained to create. So we're really pushing the arts in the veteran community. In fact, Hutchinson next year and this county, because we're going to do it at Lake Marion, will have the first ever Veterans Black Friday, where veteran small businessmen will be able, and women will be able to display their products and let's do a little bit of shopping with our veteran community for Christmas. So, and that's actually going viral. We've already, Hawaii just picked up on that yesterday. Los Angeles is going to be doing it. So it's a great program. We're lucky. We've got the NFL included with us. So we've got the NFL Players Association who backs us with funding and organizations like that. The NHL is now at the Eagles Healing Nest in Sauk Center. I don't know if any of you knew that, but they have a facility there for hockey players who are actually dealing with the same kind of trauma veterans are. So there's resources out there. As I said, our mission is we work with counties, we work with cities, we work with communities. They help us. We go to military bases. We recruit veterans to move here. We'd like to have a packet in front of them saying, here are the jobs available in Hutchinson. In fact, Miles does a great job with that in Hutchinson with our economic development, and we hope to include more resources with counties and cities throughout the state. Because if we get them here, we can train them, we can make them, they are great people. They're disciplined, they're loyal. Why not invite them here to fill some of the positions? Heck, I have a veteran the other day, he said, you think they'd allow me to drive a bus? He wants to drive school buses because he loves kids. Totally outside the window of what he thought he'd want to do. But bottom line is, if that's what he wants to do, we're going to get him in front of the right person, and we're going to get him hired. And then we're going to make sure we follow up with him to make sure his finances and everything are working well. So I'm going to stop at this point and answer any questions you might have.
Very impressive is the first thing that I can say. So
Thank you.
we've taken always a great deal of pride here at McLeod County Board and through all of our county government and our veterans. Our very first office you'll see in our government center is our VSO offices. Mm-hmm. So it was that important when we set up the layup. But this is a very, very impressive set of data that you're bringing us, and the impact that you're having is really, really unique and really important. So I'm hoping that we can, integrate what you're doing with our county economic development as well, and make this definitely a county-wide effort for you and your group to be able to pair up with.
Well, the great part is we're not in a competition with the VSO. In fact, whenever a veteran moves here, the first place we send them is to meet with the VSO. Why? Most of them don't understand the benefits they have coming from the veteran services. I went 25 years without being able to hear until somebody said, hey, did you know? Maybe I didn't hear it the 25 years before, But I finally knew. Now I got hearing aids, and they drive me crazy because I now hear, and I didn't want to do that so well. But my spouse will forgive me for that. But bottom line is, this is what we can do to make this county and our communities better places. And we need to start looking outside. People always tell me the Twin Cities have this and this and this. The Twin Cities is no different than if we drove through a 30-mile circle around Hutchinson and Glencoe. It's just a bunch of communities that came together and have services in different communities. When we start looking at, the rural communities, we have, listen, if you need to go to the doctor in the Twin Cities, you're probably driving 30 minutes in traffic. Glencoe's 19 minutes from here. So why can't we start looking at our communities in a different way and saying, I can bring a veteran and move him to Brownton where he's comfortable, where he has affordable living, or Winstead, or any of those communities, because we have the hub. So once again, thank you.
Mr. Chair? And Chair Wright took the words out of my mouth. A very impressive presentation. And I was really impressed with the data that you presented, especially the future and how many people could be affected here in the next decade or two. So I think the recruitment process, the promotion is very noticeable and notable as well. And I appreciate what you do. I appreciate what the veterans have done for our country. And I say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, before we let Tim go, I've been lucky enough to see most of this presentation over time and work with Tim on some different events. But thank you for coming today, and whatever we can do to help you, make sure you let us know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent. Well, Liz, thank you for bringing that before us today. That was a great presentation, especially with Veterans Day just a few days away. So. We'll then move on with Sheriff's Office, Chief Deputy Ward.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here for consider approval or approving a contract to continue the policing services for the City of Stewart from January 1, 2024 to December 31st, 2025. This contract is for 30 hours per week. The hourly rate for 2024 will be $73.83 or $115,174.80 annually. The hourly rate for 2025 will be $75.46 or $117,717.60 annually.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to consider approving the contract. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B.
Consider approving a contract to continue the policing services for the City of Silver Lake from January 1, 2024 to December 31st, 2025. This contract reflects a reduction of weekly hours provided from 50 to 45. The hourly rate for 2024 will be $74.65 or $174,681 annually. The hourly rate for 2025 will be $76.28 or $178,495.20 annually.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to approve the contract with the City of Silver Lake. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll handle the next one too.
Go ahead.
Consider approving a 2-year agreement with Nuvera Communications Incorporated out of New Ulm, Minnesota to continue cable service for the McLeod County Jail for a one-time fee of $149.99, a monthly recurring charges of $232.50 with funds from the jail canteen account budget. The jail has used Nuvera for its cable needs for many years. This agreement is being brought before the board as Nuvera is transitioning its cable service from copper to fiber optic. IT manager Matt Troska has been involved with and supports this agreement. Commissions from vending, communications, sales pays for the fees.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Schmaltz, second by Nagel to approve the 2-year agreement with Nuvera Communications. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Environmental Services.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
One item for your consideration this morning, and this is to consider approving a waiver with Ricky Noonan, attorneys at law, from representing McLeod County in any future disputes between member entities of the South Fork One Watershed One Plan. The Watershed District member entities are all current clients of Ricky Noonan. And we did speak about this at a prior workshop. All the member entities and the SWCDs, they are all member clients of Ricky Noonan at law, and they are asking, because they are involved in the implementation of the plan, that we do sign a waiver, and they are strongly encouraging all member entities to do such. Just release them from future liability of representation of any other clients in relation strictly to the plan.
Mr. Chair, I'll move request.
We have a motion by Schmaltz, second by Nagel, to consider approving the waiver allowing Ricky Noonan attorneys to represent McLeod County in any future disputes, member entities of the South Fork One Watershed One Plan. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Health and Human Services.
Good morning again.
Morning.
I have two items before you today. The first is to consider approving the service contract with Central Minnesota Mental Health Center for detoxification services for the period of January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, with funds from the Individual and Family Services Budget 11-430. McLeod County shall reimburse CMMHC at a daily rate of $1,000 per client, plus charges for necessary and agreed upon medical care not included as part of the regular program. Civil commitment holds will be charged at a daily rate of $1,500 per day for every day after the 72-hour maximum detoxification stay. This is not our preferred place we use for detox services. As you'll recall, we have a contract with Brown County, but we'd like to have a backup plan just in case. And if we do not have this contract, our rate would go from that $1,000 daily rate to $1,200 without a signed contract. So by doing this, it reduces our rate slightly.
Second.
We have a motion by Nagel and a second by Schmaltz to approve this contract with Central Minnesota Healthcare Center. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 2, consider approving a contract with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services to provide Minnesota Family Investment Program, also known as MFIP, and Diversionary Work Program services from McLeod County for the period of January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, at a cost of $172,040 with funds from the Individual and Family Services Budget 11-430. Services provided may include paid employment activities, paid and unpaid work experience, and community service site placements, job search and work readiness assistance, individualized structured job searches, structured follow-up, chemical health treatment, mental health treatment and rehab services, education and training related activities, and family stabilization services. The 2024 contract rate remains the same as previous years, with $143,084 allocated to the MFIP portion and $28,956 to the diversionary work program.
Okay, questions, anyone?
I can move with
Okay, we have a motion by Nagel,
Second.
second by Schmaltz to approve the contract with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works.
Good morning.
Morning.
Consider hiring Chad Bandis of Silver Lake, Minnesota for plowing only of County Stated Highway 103 in Biskey at a rate of $74 per hour, utilizing a pickup truck for the 2023-2024 snow and ice season with funds from the highway maintenance budget. This is the same rate as the 22-23 contract we had with him, and due to the narrow streets and tight turns in Biskie. This utilizing Chad saves us about 40 minutes per snow event on a route that we can be making about 25 miles of progress on a rural highway. Last year was the first year we did this contract with Chad. It worked out really well. We had about 30 snow events McLeod, and it cost us a total of $2,072.
Move request, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I can second that. Motion by Schmaltz, second by Wright. I believe we saw a little bit of this at our road tour. You just described that when we went through Biskie as well. Makes
Yep.
sense, because our trucks are just too big to get through there.
Yep, and there's a lot of turning, backing.
Yep.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Item B, consider approving 7 change orders for the Glencoe Area Transportation Services Facility project at a total cost of $14,337.50 with funds from the designated for capital asset budget. The change orders are listed in the packet. I can go through them if you would like.
I think they're listed, that's fine. I think it's probably one of the cheaper set of change orders we've ever had to approve, so.
The only question, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
There's been so many projects. Did we have a contingency budget to this project?
Yes, we had a 1.8 million total budget for this project. We're sitting at about 1.7.
So you're taking it from not the contingency budget?
We're coming into the contingency.
You are, so.
Yep,
All right.
yep.
Just-
Yeah, we had a little over $100,000 in contingency.
It needs to get new.
So you get what I'm asking? Okay, so it will be coming out of the contingency funds already set aside for the building?
Yep.
All right, very good. Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Nagel and a second by Schmaltz to approve the 7 change orders for the Glencoe Area Transportation Facility project that are listed in today's agenda for a total of $14,337.50. Is there any further discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Item C, consider selling a 2012 Ford F-150 at auction on minbid.org. In April of 2022, the board approved the purchase of 2 new pickups for Public Works and the sale of a 1997 Jeep and a 2004 Chevy Silverado and potentially another pickup, depending on how things looked as far as parks, fairgrounds, all of Public Works. We determined that this unit was in the worst shape of all the units between the highway and Parks Fairgrounds, so we'd like to sell this one.
Move request, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Schmaltz, second by Nagel, to consider selling a 2012 Ford F-150 at the auction site, minbid.org. Any further discussion? Then proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Employee Relations, Hannah.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have 2 items this morning. Item A is considering approval for the 2024 McLeod County Employee Wellbeing Budget Request, not to exceed $65,000. This request is to maintain the well-being offerings that support the health and well-being of our employees year-round. Some of these things are like the biometric wellness screens, after-hours fitness programs, well-being challenges, trainings, the well-being credit program. This request has been budgeted for 2024 from the funds of the the countywide budget, and I do have some additional information about what the participation looked like in 2023, if the board would like to hear a little bit about that.
Mr. Chair, I'll move request.
Okay.
Second it.
We have a motion by Schmaltz, a second by Nagel, to consider approving the 2024 McLeod County Employee Wellbeing Project, not to exceed $65,000. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The second item is considering approval of a one-time stipend of $750 to one Public Works employee for completed and ongoing out-of-class training and duties.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I will move to approve it. However, it needs to be addressed at the Personnel Committee to what this looks like and when this is enacted. and then brought to a workshop to educate the board, so when these come up, there's not so many questions, so.
Sure.
It's all above board, I respect that, but I think in the future, so that we don't have so many questions, we better understand if and when this is out there, this is why. So, move to approve.
And second.
We have a motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz, to consider approving a one-time stipend of $750 to a Public Works employee for completed and ongoing out-of-class training and duties. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go into our commissioner calendars. Mr. Nagel, are you ready with yours?
Yeah, so pretty quick for me, the road tour, highway tour, thank you, Andrew, for that. I got most of it. I got half of it. I got called away, unfortunately, but they're always informative. You somewhat dread going on them because you get on a Trailblazer bus and you bounce around for 4 hours, right? But they're always informative and they're always worth it in the end to see. You're always pretty up on the current projects and the future projects in the district you represent, but it's always good to see that whole layout. So thank you, Andrew, Stefan, for putting that together. I know it's pretty daunting task trying to get us all on a bus at the same time. So thank you for that. The law library meeting, met with Mr. Hanch and the two judges that are in McLeod County. That meeting focused mostly on the partnership with the jail that the law library has and materials that some are required, some are recommended to have available to the inmate population. It was a productive meeting, went well, and we got through that. Overall, law library with the contracted services seems to be going much smoother. Some technology upgrades have occurred and will need to continue to occur, but overall it's, I think, going well. And then we had a workshop regarding True County, basically regarding how assessments could work in the county, that we all attended, and along with several constituents that were here for that. So that'll do it.
Okay. Attended the road tour. Commissioner Nagel had talked about our workshop addressing the land evaluation of the True County. Attended that as well yesterday. A quick budget committee setting up some of the numbers, especially as we look at where's our final levy numbers going to land here in a couple months. Throwing out there that might not have a lot to do directly with McLeod County, but our farm participates with bringing some of our food items into the school systems under a grant called the Full Plate Grant. And last week there was a workshop that covered the districts between Dassel, Cokato, Litchfield, and Hutchinson. They worked together on this, and this workshop or meeting session kind of wrapped its arms around everybody that was involved through all of the school cooks that are using anywhere from produce to ground beef to several things that are grown on local farms to find its way into the school lunch program, and to just kind of note how much more nutritious this has been for those lunches. And there were people from all kinds of departments from the state, even from the USDA. There were several delegates there. One of them was actually in Florida the day before. That was a shock for the weather, I'm sure. But the lieutenant governor was there, as well as the commissioner of ag. And so there was a lot of attention paid on this. And I was just quite impressed as to how, not only for our personal participation in it, but just to see how much attention the school lunches, how much, nutrition is involved within programming those lunches, and the effect on local agriculture can have when you put all that together in one room. It was really a neat session to be a part of. So had that last week as well. But anyways, that's it for me. So.
Thanks, Chair Wright. For me, road tour as well on the 17th. It was a beautiful day, beautiful drive. I'm glad I got to see parts of McLeod County that I would seldom get a chance to see otherwise. So thanks, Public Works and Stefan, for organizing that and setting that all up. Then I had Pioneer Land on Thursday the 19th. Joint Powers Board meeting, and Pioneer Land struggles, just like all of us do, with their budgets, and the increased costs of medical insurance is the big driving force, and also to keep up with wage requirements as well. Following week, we had our emergency board meeting here to discuss roof repairs at solid waste, and then that afternoon I had a CHB executive committee meeting that I participated in. Wednesday, the 25th, Administrator Murphy and I attended the AMC District 7 meeting in St. Peter. I think all the counties were there and well attended. They went over, talk about our levies, our percentage increases. They try to come up with some averages and compare, where we're at with the other counties in our district. So happy to attend that event. And then 26th, the following day on Thursday, UCAP Joint Powers Board meeting. Luckily, I could attend that by Zoom. 27th, True County, like was mentioned by the other commissioners here at the Government Center. Monday the 30th, I participated in the Dr. Wu event at the Hutchinson Country Club. Dr. Wu was invited in by our Meeker McLeod Sibley CHB. He talks about belonging, differences of us, and how to recognize those differences and respect each other for the differences we have. So again, the event was very well attended and very well received by all. Gets me to yesterday. I guess I've had a couple of pretty busy weeks, Mr. Chair. So Sharing Hands Nurse Family Partnership meeting in Olivia. And again, getting budgets set for next year is the primary concern. Keeping up with employee pay is a forefront. One note I'll make about the Sharing Hands is they've been carrying a healthy cash balance for a few years now, so the board has reduced the charge or the cost to each county to start working that cash balance down a little bit and still have plenty of cash in reserve. So that was kind of the takeaway of yesterday's meeting as well. And I will mention with the Joint Powers Boards that we all serve in, it was mentioned that we should make sure we have our, when we're going through our committee assignments, we assign one of us, and also start looking at alternates on a lot of these if we don't already have them in place. It just creates more efficiency and more participation from each county as we do these joint powered boards. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Attorney's office, anything? No. Administrators.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead with your agenda.
Thank you. Item A, consider adopting Resolution 23-CB-49, supporting Operation Greenlight for veterans through November 12, 2023. And I just want to go over a brief summary of, if maybe you've seen our social media or on our website, we have from November 6th through November 12th where we are lighting up green at our facilities to show support for area veterans and their families. And we have this resolution asking you to pass. There is county participation throughout the nation. The commissioners all have a green light bulb box in front of them, and so does our county attorney there, that they're going to put up at their homes too. And we encourage citizens to do the same, and also area businesses.
All right, thank you.
I'll move to approve the resolution.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to consider adopting Resolution 23-CB-49, supporting Operation Greenlight for veterans through November 12th, 2023.
Thank you, and thank you to our McLeod County veterans and our employees who are veterans as well.
Absolutely. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item B, consider approving the memorandum of agreement for employer-sponsored health insurance contribution and health savings account contribution with the McLeod County Non-Sergeants Unit of the Law Enforcement Labor Services, Local Number 329 Union for the period of January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2024. I do not believe we have a signed agreement from them on this one, so it would be coming from us first to them.
Okay, looks like we got a pretty long list of these, so I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Wright, second by Nagel to consider approving the memorandum of agreement with local number 329. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next.
Thank you. Item C, considering approving the same, attorney, can I read just for the union if it is the same agreement verbiage, or do I need to read each one separately?
If it's the same,
Thank you.
can proceed then.
Item C is to consider approving the same memorandum of agreement with the McLeod County Licensed Sergeants of the Law Enforcement Labor Services Local Number 297, and that has been signed by their union and approved and accepted.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to approve the memorandum of agreement with local number 297.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item D, consider approving the same memorandum of agreement with the McLeod County Communication Officer and Correction Officer Unit of the Minnesota Public Employee Association Union, and that one has been signed and accepted by that union.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to consider the memorandum of agreement with our County Communication Correction Officer Unit. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item E, consider approving that same memorandum of agreement with the McLeod County General Unit of the Minnesota Public Employee Association Union that has been accepted and signed.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to approve the memorandum of agreement with the general unit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item F, consider approving that same memorandum of agreement with the McLeod County Licensed Deputy Unit of the Minnesota Public Employee Association Union that has been accepted and signed.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to consider approving the memorandum of agreement with the licensed deputy unit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item G, consider approving that same memorandum of agreement with the McLeod County Public Works Unit of the Minnesota Public Employee Association Union that has been approved and is signed.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to consider approving the memorandum of agreement with Public Works Unit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item H, consider approving that same memorandum of agreement for the McLeod County Social Services Unit of the AFSCME Union. That has not been signed and accepted. They asked for a further meeting.
Do you want a motion to
Yes.
make this our offer?
That would, yes. Yep, you can still sign the agreement.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to approve the memorandum of agreement with the McLeod County Social Services Unit of AFSCME. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item I, consider approving the same memorandum of agreement for the McLeod County Public Health Unit of the Minnesota Nurses Association Union, who has not signed and accepted and also asked for another meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to consider the memorandum of agreement with the McLeod County Public Health Unit of the Minnesota Nurses Association Union. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, and I just want to note that that would mean that 5 of our 8 employee unions have approved the agreement for their 2024 health insurance, and that open enrollment has been posted for all of our employees, union and non-union. The dates are upcoming. Item J, consider the Budget Committee's recommendations setting the 2024 non-union employer-sponsored health insurance health savings account plan participant matching contribution for eligible members only at a maximum dollar-for-dollar match of up to $1,200 for single plan participants and at a maximum dollar-for-dollar match of up to $1,800 for other eligible HSA tiers, including employee plus children, employee plus spouse, or family coverage. There's a typo in your agenda. It should say this has been budgeted for 2024. The county board set the 2023 non-union health insurance HSA plan participant matching contribution for eligible members at those same amounts. This is not a change from 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz, to consider the Budget Committee's recommendations to set the 2024 non-union employee-sponsored health insurance health savings account plan. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item K, notification of workshop following the county board meeting on Tuesday, November 21, 2023, here at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. Thank you.
Your extra item.
Oh, I apologize. Item 12L, thank you. Commissioner Nagel reminded me, it was added at the beginning to have item 12L under administration. Consider approving updated revenue recapture agreements with the Minnesota Department of Revenue. These are standard agreements that contain the same information as before with updated dates.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz, to approve the Minnesota Department of Revenue recapture agreement. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
I believe that takes us to the end of our agenda for today. Is there any open forum or press relations? Anything? We'll then look for a motion to recess.
Move recess, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All right. Motion by Schmal, second by Nagel, to recess until our next county board meeting, which will be 9 a.m. Tuesday, November 21st at the McLeod County Government Center. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll wait about 5 minutes and get started with our workshop. We do have to have a little bit of a time restraint on that, so.
If anybody missed the motion, it was made by Nagel, second by Schmaltz for the last 15 of them.
Yeah.
I thought we were doing good with that.
We should have
so
switched them.
I did that for Stefan, so he could.
He just copy and paste all the way down.
We should have done one a little different just to throw them on.
Yeah, see if I caught it.